Well, welcome once again. This is the Doctor of Digital, the Doctor of Digital podcast. The purpose of the show is to transform your business and life with education and inspiration. I introduce busy business leaders to trends in business, technology, and marketing to highlight people you should know. Are you tired of pouring time and money into social media marketing with little to show for it? In today's digital age, a strong social media presence is crucial for business success. But navigating the ever-changing landscape can feel like trying to hit a moving target. What if there was a way to create a predictable marketing system that consistently generates leads and sales, even in industries that seem challenging to promote? My guest has cracked the code on social media marketing, and he's here to share secrets with you. Meet Wayne Mullins, the dynamo behind Ugly Mug Marketing. In just 4 years, Wayne has led his team to an astounding 340% growth, spearheading over 4,000 social media campaigns. His expertise isn't just theoretical. Wayne has worked hand in hand with hundreds of small business owners and entrepreneurs, helping them cut through the noise and achieve tangible results in the digital realm. From turning strangers into advocates for nonprofits, or making unsexy industries share on social media platforms, Wayne's strategies have proven effective across diverse sectors. Whether you're struggling to make your content resonate or looking to debunk common social media myths, Wayne's insights promise to revolutionize your approach to digital marketing. Get ready to discover the lead generation strategies and competitors hope they never learn. During this episode, we'll do a deep dive into the changes and hot topics of social media, its biggest challenges and growth, and I will leverage the expertise of my guests and how to navigate the unique dynamics of the field. By the end of this episode, you'll be better equipped to know what to do, and I encourage you to contact my guest, Wayne Mullins, leader at Ugly Mug Marketing. With that, I want to welcome Wayne to the show. How you doing today, Wayne?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I can't complain because nobody is listening. So very curious how you got into this field in the first place. I'm always curious. Is there some story or something that you would say in your background that got you interested?
Sure. So my background, actually, I do have a degree in marketing, which I would say, no offense to the university I went to, was pretty much meaningless. Not a lot of value from that.
Okay.
So most of my marketing background actually comes from starting a business, and over the course of a 3-year period, growing that business to the point of being able to sell it. And during the course of that growth, we grew so rapidly that a lot of other entrepreneurs in our marketplace started coming to me saying, I see how fast you're growing. Right. What are you doing? And the answer was, we were doing some very specific, very unique forms of marketing and using some marketing strategies that turned into consulting, that then turned into this idea, maybe I should turn this into an agency.
Wow, very interesting. So you kind of fell into it in some ways, but in a good way, I guess.
Yep.
Well, have you seen some changes that you could say? Now, there's been a bit of time has passed by. What sort of changes would you say that you've seen in your field?
Yeah, I would say that the changes are the same, but they've increased in terms of how quick the changes come. So what I mean by that is there's always been this temptation in the marketing world to pursue the new, the shiny, the sexy thing, right? Whether it's a new social media platform, whether it's AI today that we're talking about, there's always been this temptation. The difference is today, the number of options and opportunities that are presented to us as marketers is growing at an exponential rate. So that is the temptation. And what the sad part of that temptation is so many marketers fall prey to this idea that if I just figure out the magic tool or the magic platform, that I will crack the code and everything else will take care of itself. And that simply doesn't happen.
Well, it's kind of interesting insight. Now, a lot of people are saying the shiny new object is AI and marketers are using it. So what would you say are the hot topics, if not AI, or is it a hot topic, or what kinds of things would you address?
It's definitely a hot topic, right? It is the thing right now that is consuming the business world as a whole, but specifically the marketing space
Right.
as well. But the temptation I see is this. The temptation is people are trying to figure out how to use AI to quickly and rapidly make a lot of money, right? I mean, they
Yep.
want to automate everything in their marketing so they don't have to do anything, so that money just flows in. And here's the most fascinating thing. The entrepreneurs, the marketers that I know who are the most invested in terms of time, money, and attention in AI are the ones who are losing ground to the people who have stuck with fundamentals. I see this across industry. I see this across company size. This is the common thing. So it reminds me of the gold rush here in the United States.
Yeah.
During the gold rush, the people who made the most money were not the gold prospectors. It was the people who sold the tools and the equipment to do the gold digging and the gold prospecting. They're the ones who made the most money. Right now, the people who are making the most money aren't the marketers who are trying to use all these various tools. It's the companies who built these tools who are making the most money.
When you say fundamentals, could you give us some idea? What are those fundamentals that you would say, identify?
Yeah, this unsexy answer, but at the end of the day, marketing really boils down to two different things. Number one, marketing is all about your ability to attract and to keep a customer. That's number one. Number two, marketing is really about human psychology and math. Nothing more than that, right? Human psychology, meaning that the goal of marketing, in my opinion, is to make sales unnecessary. In other words, when our marketing is dialed in and working well, we don't have to spend a lot of time, energy, and effort trying to convince people to hand us money because the marketing has done that work for us. And the fundamental place that happens is with human psychology, understanding how people make purchasing decisions, and then how do we influence those decisions.
What would you say are the most difficult? That's cost of acquisition or cost of retaining your client or customer?
I would say that most marketers would tell you the answer is acquisition is the most difficult, the most challenging. I would, however, say the opposite is true. I believe that marketers, the biggest sin that marketers commit today is this. They believe that their job is to go out into the world, find all the strangers, the people who don't know about our product or our service, and to convince them to hand over their money for our product or service.
Right.
Once they get that person to that point, in other words, once they get the person to the point of handing over the money, the marketers then run out and go try to find more people like that to do that process again. We live in a world today where there are 6.4, 6.5 billion people with this device that I'm holding up called a smartphone.
Right.
That means there's 6.4 or 5 billion people who have the ability in an instant to share with quote unquote their world all about our product or service. And yet as marketers, instead of learning how to turn those customers into evangelists for us, using our skills as marketers, our abilities as marketers to do that, we ignore the customers. We say that's a whole nother department. That's a whole nother thing. That's not our responsibility. And we run back out trying to acquire more customers. The opportunity for marketers today is to hone your skills on turning ordinary customers into evangelists.
So it's almost like the customer satisfaction is more important because then they go out with the message and they pull people in from their network into your service.
100%. If you were to survey business owners across the world and you were to say, where do your best customers come from? The answer is going to be word of mouth or referral. That is it.
Yeah.
100% of the time, that is where businesses, by and large, get the best customers from. And yet, as marketers, what's our strategy around that? The strategy around that is usually nothing. Like we assume that's, fulfillment, that's customer service, that's somebody else's department. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just a firm believer in this. If we took our same skills and abilities that we have as marketers and we applied them to turning these customers into evangelists, our jobs as marketers become infinitely easier.
And so it sounds like you're integrating business, which a lot of businesses don't do, because we got this department and that department, and ne'er the twain shall meet. That's often the case. But you're really saying to have an integrated, holistic approach to an organization. So it's really better organizational strategy and improves your business.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious then, what kinds of things would you generally recommend? Like, these are some ideas which are probably fresh for a lot of people. So what would you recommend, say, a general business owner to be thinking about when they're considering their marketing?
Yeah. So if we're going to jump back up to the acquisition side, what I would say is this, that when we think about social media, the truth is 98% or more, probably 99%, the vast majority of businesses actually don't do social media. What they do is digital media. And the key word is in the semantics around these words, digital versus social. Social media, social means dialogue. It means interaction. Digital means to broadcast out digitally, right? It's just the format that it goes out. Most businesses, when it comes to quote unquote social media, they show up and they throw up their message, right? They come up and they just vomit and they spew their messages everywhere. And then they complain that it doesn't work. The reason is social media is designed for interaction. It's designed for conversations. It's designed to be social. But our whole approach and our whole strategies in businesses and organizations is not that. Our whole approach is, I want to leverage this tool as a big megaphone versus a telephone where I can dialogue, where I can interact, where I can have these meaningful conversations that then build loyal, long-term customers.
It sounds like it's a false way of going about things with social media, because it reminds me of what broadcasting used to be, right? So I have a television or I have a radio and I'm broadcasting, and I got this broad approach, the shotgun approach. I'm going to somehow hit somebody, and it's like the spaghetti thrown on the wall. Something's going to come back. Something's going to stick.
Yeah, I would say that 100% agree. And I think the difference today is this, that even when broadcast media was a big thing, television, radio, print, when that was the only option we really had as marketers, as business owners, the difference was by default, you had to be more strategic. So part of the reason was that media was very expensive. In other words, if you're going to run a 30-second TV spot during your local news or whatever the program may be, it's expensive. It was expensive. Same thing with print. If you were going to run a half page or a quarter page or a full page ad in your paper, very expensive. So you had to be strategic. You couldn't just run out and say, yeah, put something here, put something there, and let's hope for the best. Today, because social media is perceived as free, right? You can go post today, whatever you want to post on your social media, and quote unquote, it doesn't cost you anything. But in reality, because we have gone from a strategic approach where we have to ensure that the message works, that we're communicating the right thing to the right audience, to this other approach, we're now solely tactical. And it's exactly what you said. It is, we've got this big bucket of spaghetti and we're shoveling it everywhere we possibly can to see what sticks. And the reality is, you talk to entrepreneurs, you talk to business owners, nothing sticks.
Right.
Nothing sticks because there's no strategy behind it. It's, I know we need to be on social. I know we need to be on Instagram, or I know we need to be on TikTok. Our competitors are doing it. We got to do it. Let's do it. And then we do it. And the metrics we start measuring are not meaningful metrics. We start measuring how many posts did we do this month, right? How many videos did we upload this month? And then if we're slightly more sophisticated, we'll move into, well, what was the impressions? What was the reach? What was the frequency? And again, those are all vanity metrics. Those metrics in and of themselves are completely meaningless, absolutely meaningless.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, since I can measure it, then I'm going to say I'm successful because I can measure it, but that's not necessarily the element of success. It's also kind of an interesting insight in that what you are saying is if you're really addressing the people that you want to reach, it's much more humane and human-like because people really are social animals. It's where Aristotle said we're political animals, by which he meant we're social animals. We want to communicate. And you think back of the times during the pandemic where people couldn't communicate, it's pretty frustrating for people. So what you're really addressing is a human need. And if you're a marketer, you got a good service, you are actually giving a person what they actually want or need.
Yep. I couldn't agree with that more. And I think the distraction for marketers, for entrepreneurs is this, that we get so enamored by the byproducts of the things that we pursue. So, taking this back kind of a higher level here is you think about it, like if you have a for-profit business or organization, the profits or the revenue that you generate in your business is a byproduct of selling your product or services. And if we dive into that specifically a little bit more, in that area, what that means is we are in service, either through our product or our service to the customers. That is why all organizations exist, whether for-profit, not-for-profit, solopreneur, 10,000 employees. We exist. Every organization exists to serve other people. The problem is we get distracted by these byproducts. And when we get distracted by the byproducts, it causes us to do all kinds of stupid things. And that is very evident in the way most people approach their marketing.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and say, what sort of expertise or what kind of actionable tips can you give if the so-called business owner or the person that's out there? What kinds of things did you actually recommend? And you could think about some tips to be more effective marketing.
The number one tip I would give is this, and then I'll give a quick high-level concrete thing overview.
All right.
You've got to abandon the tactics that you're calling strategy because they're not strategy. You have to be strategic if you're going to win in the marketing world today, right? You cannot be tactical. And so one question comes up, how do I know if I'm being strategic or being tactical?
Sure.
The question becomes, when you look at your marketing plan, first of all, do you have one? That's one indication if you're being tactical or strategic. But when you look at your marketing plan, what is the center point of that plan? Is it all the different platforms, all the different things we are going to do? Or is the center point the people that we're here to serve, people that we're here to put our product and service in front of? That is how you know if you're being strategic or if you're being tactical. If it's not about the person, then you are merely pursuing a bunch of different tactics and you're trying to orchestrate them in a strategic way. Now, that's better than not being strategic at all, but the person, the journey of the individual, that is the core of any strategy. So when we think about that, I'm going to give a super quick version of this and happy to dive into more details. We teach what's called the natural progression. And that is simply based on human psychology, the way that every single person makes purchasing decisions. So if you think of an old circular clock hanging on the wall, so at the top of it's the 12 o'clock, right-hand side's 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock spot. So at the 12 o'clock spot, we have what are called strangers. So strangers are anyone that you believe would benefit, receive value from your product or service. Mm-hmm. Those are your strangers, not just everybody who doesn't know about you, but the people who would benefit that don't know about you. Your first objective as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, is to move those people from the 12 o'clock spot to the 3 o'clock spot, from strangers into friends. And there's only 2 ingredients that are required to do that. 1, they have to know about you. Number 2, they have to like you. Sounds super obvious. I could dive into more details here, but objective 1, we have to move them from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, from strangers to friends. The next objective is simple. We have to move them from friends, 3 o'clock, to 6 o'clock, where they become customers. They pull out their wallet and hand us money. The core ingredient here is trust. You have to ensure that they trust you. But here's the caveat. People do not trust you as a marketer. They do not trust you as a business owner because they know you have a vested interest. They do not trust you. They're skeptical of you. So you have to ensure that when it comes to your marketing and moving people from friends into customers, you have to ensure that you're leveraging other people. You're leveraging what other people say about you. Now, this is where most marketers end, right? So once they get the customer, they're done. We talked about this a little bit earlier.
Sure.
But I would argue once they're a customer, your job as a marketer is to then take them from 6 o'clock on the clock, if we think about it, to 9 o'clock, which is when they become an evangelist.
Sure.
Someone who loves your product or service so much that they're willing to go tell other people. And the core ingredient there is love. And specifically what that means is you have to ensure as a marketer that your product or service exceeds expectations. You're not going to create an evangelist by merely meeting expectations. It has to exceed expectations. And the only way you can exceed expectations is to first understand what are those baseline expectations.
It's really interesting. It reminds me of a quote from Jack Welch. He said to under promise and over deliver. So, keep your word, but then give the person even more. There's a lot of things that you've been able to share, like the changes, the hot topics, and a really interesting and personal approach to marketing. I'm wondering if a person wanted to work with you, having heard your message, how they get a hold of you, and what would you recommend that they do?
The simplest way to connect is our website, uglymugmarketing.com. You can learn more about all the different services that we provide, that we offer. From there, we've got just contact form. What you'll do, fill that out. We will reach out and schedule a needs discovery call where we just talk through what's showing up for you, right? What are the problems, the challenges that you're currently facing? And can we help? We may not be able to help. We can't help everyone, but if we're a good fit, we'll talk through what those solutions may look like.
And it's a very personal and hands-on approach. And that's what I'd say what really communicates is the fact that you really seem to care about people, which is the ultimate form of one person helping another. And that's how the system works. One hand washes the other.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Wade. I appreciate you taking out some time and really some interesting insights into the marketing world and a fresh approach. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to chat. And thank you again for what you do in broadcasting these messages out to the world.
Right. Very good. If you want to get a hold of Wayne and anybody else, you want to make sure that you get a hold of us. But make sure that you like, subscribe, positively review the Dr. Digital podcast for more exciting and interesting guests like Wayne. I want to thank the sponsors of the program, the publishers of both Burning America and On Track, Ian Hunter, for their support. And of course, make sure you get a hold of me at any time, Mastering Presentation Secrets. I help business leaders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs break through their obscurity through oral and written presentations, building credibility and authority. That's Mastering Presentation Secrets on Facebook. This is the Dr. Digital signing off. Until next time, Deus Vult.